Well, I want to introduce Dr. Chad Glines and Dr. Caleb Braddock. Both are well known in the North Texas area as chiropractors. They are founders and owners of Genesis Back and Neck, a chiropractic practice that provides spinal decompression therapy to patients. What makes them unique is their unique protocol and how they provide that decompression. They've been clients of mine for many years. The last few years, we've focused on expanding the Genesis practice, not only throughout Texas, but also into other states. How many locations do we have now? Do y'all know?
No, I know. Thanks for that introduction, Wade. That was super awesome. Yeah, we have 21 as of today.
In such states, obviously is in Texas, but also Oklahoma, Arkansas, California, where else? Iowa,
Pennsylvania,
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then today we added in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's one I couldn't get out.
So y'all are growing by leaps and bounds. I want to get into that and discuss your journey and some of the challenges that you've had, some of the successes that you've had. But why don't you kind of tell us first, what is Genesis Back and Neck? What's your vision for this decompression therapy?
Yeah, so essentially, my background, I didn't always think I was going to be a chiropractor. So I was originally thought, well, the only way you can fix the disc is let's just go cut that thing. So I had my sights on more of the surgical route. And then I read a study by an MD, Dr. Martin, and that study said that, well, I can change a disc in such a way that it'll heal without surgery. And instead of being, 20 to 30% success, whatever the surgery success is, it's very low. It's 88% success. It's like, holy cow. So I was really driven by that. And so I said, well, I'm going to go to chiropractic school and I'm going to buy this machine. I'm going to fix people, really give them a way to change their back without the surgery. So Genesis Back and Neck, the whole vision of that is being able to use true spinal decompression. And a lot of people think traction and spinal decompression are the same thing, but it's completely different. Traction is more of a, what's that?
Well, that leads to a good question. So explain the difference, Dr. Braddock, if you will, kind of the difference between what most people think of as traction and seeing some of those medieval devices that stretch people versus what modern decompression therapy is.
Sure. A lot of doctors, I think, are attracted to some of those more juvenile type devices because they are more affordable, right? And so then they're all sold under the blanket of spinal decompression. And one of the things about decompression versus traction, rather than those be synonymous terms in this regard, traction pulls the spine in an unspecified, non-specific straight line, which does two things. One, for some people, it's pretty uncomfortable. And two, and even worse, is it's non-specific. And so the reproducibility of getting patients real results is quite low. And with true spinal decompression, particularly the device that we use called the DRX 9000, it allows us to augment the angle of pull to mathematically match the angle of the injured disc. So our treatment results are very specific. And because they're specific, they're subtle. So it's a comfortable treatment. It's effective. We have reproducible results and a really great success rate of being able to help patients avoid drugs and surgery.
So does that mean you can target specific discs instead of just stretching the whole spine? You can target a specific area?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah.
If you imagine the low back laying on your back, all of the angles or all of the discs have their own angle, just like the rays of the sun. So if we're trying to influence L5 versus L1, those are at entirely different angles. And the machine and the protocol that Dr. Glines has created starts to make those adjustments accordingly, so we get targeted relief to the area that needs it.
Dr. Glines mentioned a moment ago how he was really attracted to the idea of treating patients without the need for surgery. Dr. Glines, explain, if you would, how that holistic chiropractic type of philosophy really fits well into the idea of decompression, the treatment of decompression, and really your overall treatment philosophy.
Yeah, that's a good question. We get asked that a lot. A big thing about chiropractic, right? So the core chiropractic principle is to make an adjustment to the spine to relieve pressure on a nerve so that nerve can give life to wherever that nerve goes, right? So you're helping the patient heal within themselves naturally. And so the body can heal if you put it in a specific place. Decompression before the DRX 9000 really was pretty antiquated, and you really couldn't do that. It wasn't specific. And then that's why the DRX 9000 is the only machine that we use at Genesis Back and Neck, because it can be specific. And what's beautiful about it, and why so many chiropractors are finding Genesis to be so attractive, is because it molds perfectly to the chiropractic principle. Instead of allowing an adjustment, we're we're taking pressure off of the nerve by pulling the disc back where it belongs naturally, which gives that nerve the ability to heal, and the disc will heal. And the results are unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And I still get shocked whenever I see somebody that was so bad and they have no quality of life and they cannot even function on a day-to-day basis. And then they go through our program, and at the end of it, they're walking through Walmart without any pain. They shop with their kids and they can enjoy time with their family. Super.
So I suspect that you're not the only practice to use the DRX 9000. What makes your treatment different from some of the other people who offer a similar type of therapy?
Okay, so the protocol, I created this a long time ago. And so if I started looking, so when I first bought the DRX 9000, I said, okay, so it's between 20 and 24 visits. You're reading the research and you're like, all right, great. And the protocol typically was a daily treatment for a period of sessions, and at the max weight you can pull. And so on the lumbar, it's 80% of your weight. On a cervical, it's 20% of your body weight. Well, I didn't like that, because I don't want to pull someone at the max weight every single time, because at that point, you're just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping they get better. So I developed a protocol that it's not daily, and it can adjust the weight accordingly to how the patient's healing. So we can create a healing map through their treatment, because I'm famous for saying, I don't ever want to see you again when we're done with this treatment. You go and you live your life. If it worked, then you never have to come back. And this protocol was developed so you could watch a patient heal and adjust slightly to match their symptoms.
So it sounds like it's an adaptive treatment. As a patient progresses, their treatment adapts to where they are at any given moment.
It does, yes.
So no different than if you had a personal trainer in the gym. If he made you max out 5 days a week, like it's a gruesome, brutal experience. But if he starts to tailor your training to your body's ability to handle that training, that's when you get really personalized care.
Your body needs time to react to the stimulus.
Yes.
And so once it adapts to the stimulus, then you can then take, assess and decide where it needs to go next. Mm-hmm. Dr. Braddock, what type, of successes have you seen with this Genesis protocol?
Well, I think I'm kind of uniquely geared to talk on this, because at 17 years in practice, for a lot of those years, I did more high volume chiropractic practice. And that's really my favorite thing. I could wax and wane about that a lot. I still see a lot of chiropractic patients. One thing I started noticing over the years is when I have a bulging or herniated disc patient, we don't really have a chiropractic adjustment that is a true solution to that. We're simply like fending off the inevitable, and eventually it would lose them to pain management or surgery. And just like Dr. Glines alluded to, probably not the best solutions for a lot of people. And so when we started really importing the spinal decompression and Dr. Glines' protocol, that's when we started to see patients that were almost lost cause patients, for lack of better terms, patients that we saw very little production with, all of a sudden get their life back. And it's just been a really shocking thing. 50% of the patients we see at Genesis have already had one spine surgery. They're trying to avoid the second one. And so the whole chiropractic principle, like Dr. Glines talked about, was we want to give the body the ability to heal itself. And we know it has an innate recuperative ability. We just have to provide an environment that's conducive to healing. And decompression done in this way does that. And it gives the body a chance. And we think everybody deserves a chance to avoid drugs and surgery if possible.
I've been representing chiropractors for many years. One thing I learned early on, is that chiropractors uniquely are very entrepreneurial. You know, when something works, you want to take it to the masses. And so you started this journey a couple of years ago about expanding the Genesis back and neck protocol throughout Texas and into other states. Whose vision was that, and how did that idea start?
I think it was a collective vision. Caleb and I are basically the same brain. It's been a beautiful partnership, us pairing together. I think chiropractors innately just want to help everybody. Like you said, that they're entrepreneurial, not because they're maybe not the smartest business guys. Like, they don't go to chiro school to say, hey, let me own a huge company with hundreds of locations. But what they do have is they have a sense of like, I want to help as many people as I can. And if I'm able to do that, let's replicate that as many times as we can to reach that many more people.
So whose idea was it to expand throughout Texas and beyond?
It was a real organic thing, the way it came about, because the original office was doing so well. We're like, we need to open another one of these offices. And as we did that, it was doing really well. And Chad and I are having dinner with a close friend of ours. And he's like, we want to be able to put this model inside of my already existing successful chiropractic practice. And Dr. Chad and I were both like, that's intriguing. We started thinking about it. And the good Lord has just kind of brought us partners. And if there's any strength in what we have in Genesis, is we've been lucky enough to partner not only with each other, which has been, a match made in heaven, a really great thing, but he's brought us partners that we know, love, and trust, respectable, ethical doctors that have a heart to help people, just like you said. And then that has just organically grown to where we talked earlier today, where we're at today and where we were 5 years ago. We didn't anticipate this. We weren't like, and you know what the next step is? It's really kind of grown, and we've had growing pains, which you've been fortunate enough to help us with, and we've learned new things, and we keep being brought increase. And so we're trying to be good stewards of that and really create something that helps a whole country. So
I, with 21 locations thus far, and I know there are others in the queue, what have been some of the greatest successes you've had and challenges you've had as you've started this process?
Well, I think one of the greatest successes we've had is we've been able to help people, and that kind of goes without saying. That's really our heart, is to be able to help people that really didn't have good options. But not only the patients that we've helped, we've been able to partner with doctors and bring in a successful revenue source into their business that's affected their lives and their families' lives, and given them maybe some freedom that they might not have otherwise had. And so that has been a really amazing thing. Some of the challenges, I think, have been making sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, which is your corner of this square. And as we've gone into other states, how do we do that while abiding by their state law and business structure long term? And so being able to have your expertise on that, to put all the pieces together to say, yes, you should do it this way, no, you shouldn't do it this way, and find those unique solutions to the problems that we were facing. Because it seems like every day we find another problem. It's like, oh yeah. So we're just in this refine, edit mode. And it's been a super fun journey.
Well, it seems like, as the attorney involved, and to make the organizational structure and administrative side easier, we want to replicate as much as possible the model in each state. However, each state is unique and is different in some ways. Mm-hmm. And so we find ourselves, doing the same things over and over, but different and a little bit different. Dr. Glines, how has that created How has that challenge been difficult? Has that challenge been difficult to overcome? How have you tried to adapt as we've tried to navigate our ways around the other laws and jurisdictions?
Well, so yeah, that's a big question. So one, I'll just say that having you on the team has been extremely helpful, because when we first branched out into the out of Texas, right? So then we're in another state. Well, me and Caleb were like, okay, so now what? I mean, I know how to get patients in the door and I know how to do all the things that we know how to do, but what in the world do we do with the legal structure? Like, can we even practice there? Do we have to be licensed there? Do we have to, what do we have to do certain things? And so that is mind-boggling to me. Like it's so like it's so daunting of a task to think about that. Having the proper attorney involved, like yourself, super, I mean, made that way easier. I'll just say that. I got hung up there because Caleb and I literally, our brains would just explode because, oh, now we're going to Michigan and now we're going to Pennsylvania. Oh, we're down in Florida now. Oh, we're going over to California. So we didn't really know what to do or what to expect, other than we need to take our process there, but then to come to you to say, okay, how in the world do we actually do that legally and ethically? And it's been great, but it's been very trying mentally, trying to wrap your head around all these different laws.
Yeah, it has been a journey. One of the other challenges I've seen is just on the administrative side. You know, it may be that I prepare the documents, but we have so many documents or potential chiropractors interested that you had to hire more people just to manage the administrative side of it, and especially just onboarding these new doctors.
Yeah, that process, when we sat down and we said, okay, so how are we going to onboard the next 10 doctors? One, how in the world do we even get 10 doctors in a row this fast? That was a challenge. But then we had to create an entire corporate side of our practice side. So a new entity to handle just the corporation. So yes, we've hired on 3 new corporate members. We've built out technology on a new platform to help track the numbers and make sure that, okay, so everything is working here. We've got this, all the processes are in order and shows on the dashboard. And then, well, did this step happen in the onboarding process? Well, then we had to bring someone in on that. So that's been a unique challenge, but a fun one, but one that we really weren't prepared for until we saw how quickly we were growing. And so, yeah, we had to build that out relatively quickly.
So this last question is for both of you guys. Where is it that you see this going? At what point do you say, okay, I think we've grown enough? I mean, what is your vision of what this looks like as it becomes more fully built out?
Well, I'll start off by answering it, saying originally it was pretty organic. Dr. Chad and I weren't really, we didn't set out to be where we're at now. But now that we're where we're at now, we have a pretty good idea about where we're headed in the future. And so we see at least 100 offices nationwide. We always want to make sure as we grow, we're never growing at the expense of quality for our patients and quality for our partners, that they're always getting as much of us as they need. And like Dr. Chad said, having you has been paramount, because us trying to haphazardly navigate legal mumbo jumbo, we can hand that to somebody that's an expert and that we trust, and then we can work in our unique giftedness. But we feel like the snowball has just crested over the hill, honestly. And now we have a really good idea of where it's headed, and it's getting bigger quick. So
agree.
So now it may be my turn to add more staff as that snowball keeps speeding up.
We hope so.
We're going to try to keep you busy.
We would love to do that for you.
Well, I appreciate it. Dr. Glines, Dr. Braddock, thank you for your time today. Genesis Back and Neck Spinal Decompression Specialist, expanding throughout the country. It's been an honor and just a privilege to be with you guys on this journey, and I look forward to working with you guys for many years to come.